Well, kia ora and welcome into the Hana South Hour, proudly brought to you by HRNZ Marketing. I'm Jess Smith, and this week on the show we talk to Arna Donnelly following her huge night at Cambridge, training 4 winners last Thursday. Dave Kennedy talks about breeding a top lot at the yearling sales. Amber Lethaby is with us after she recorded her 100th New Zealand driving win, and we find out more about Trackside's Marc Cookson. And of course, bookmaker Richard Wilson is also with us for our weekly Bookie update. But first, here are the headlines. On Friday night, Addington held a host of feature races. In a brief summary, Jessie Duke took out the Group 2 Vero Flying Stakes. Cheerful clung on to win the Group 2 New Zealand Trotting Oaks. Majestic Man won the Group 3 4 and 5 year old Trotters Championship. And Alta Maestro was successful in the Tail Track Free for All at Group 3 level. Sunday's Waimate Cup was taken out by Oneiden Rain, driven by John Dunn for trainer Robert Dunn. The 4-year-old mare is owned by T&G Lane and has now won 5 of her 18 career starts. And Arna Donnelly hit a new milestone in her training career when recording 4 wins at the Cambridge meeting last Thursday. And we'll talk to Arna next on the podcast. Well, of course, one of the major headlines over the last week or so of harness racing was the huge haul by Arna Donnelly at Cambridge. 4 wins. Arna, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jess. It was an amazing night, that's for sure.
And would you label that as a career highlight so far?
I'd have to put it right up there. The whole month's been pretty exciting, like with Celtic Thunder winning the Shane Hayes farewell trot in his colours, and sort of double rocket running fifth in the Derby. And then coming out and winning last week, and then and then of course the 4 winners the other night just topped it off. Yeah.
And it's great to see too, Arna, even at this stage of the season, you're already on 21 wins, which was the same as last season. But potentially you could be looking at your best season yet.
Yeah, I'd like to think so, but hey, racing's a funny old game. But yeah, if things keep continuing the way they're going, I'm sure we'll be looking at that. It'll be really good.
Oh, fantastic. And in terms of those 4 horses that won on Thursday night, were you expecting to go into those races with good chances, or was it, just see what happens?
To be fair, they've all been racing quite well without huge amount of deals of luck. So I think they all do quite good. I think probably the last 2 horses, Pat and Charlie and Sarah, were really good chances on paper, of winning chances more so. Then the first 2 won, and I thought, well, hell, I don't know. It's really hard to win 4, So, yeah, and they just kept going and going, and yeah, it was super good, really. So.
And as you mentioned, you've had great success recently. So what are the plans for your whole team going forward? What are some of the major targets, Arna?
Well, we head south. Double Rocket heads down there tomorrow morning. He's aiming for the New Zealand Derby next week, and yeah, the rest of the team, I think we've got 6 going to Palmy this week. So, yeah, just keep ticking along. And we've qualified a lot of 2-year-olds this season. They're all sort of outselling. And so we'd like to think we've got some nice 3-year-olds coming through next season as well to keep the team rolling. But we've got a lot of nice bred stock at the moment, and a lot of nice young ones that have qualified good enough to think they're going to be okay racehorses too. So, yeah, hopefully there's some exciting ahead for us all.
Yeah, and I'd imagine logistically, as you mentioned, you've got to head to Palmerston North, you've got horses heading south. How many people have you got helping you out, Arna, and how many do you actually have in work at the moment?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I've got fantastic staff, and without them, I couldn't do this job. Alicia Harrison, who's my stable junior, she heads to Palmy with the team. I've got Caleb Bublitz, who's trials for the juniors at the end of the season. And Robbie Frampton, who's our amateur driver. So they all stay home and take care of the team there, and I'll head to Christchurch at some stage to get down with Double Rocket. And yeah, and I've got Alan Fermi and Henry Collett, who also, do the boxes and keep an eye on fixing fences and bits and pieces. So, it's a huge effort, and a lot of family and friends that help out on the weekends and do all the little bits, because there's obviously a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So, some credit to them too.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge undertaking, and well deserved to see the season going so well for you. And we've chatted in the past, Arna, around syndication, and you've got people from all walks of life involved with horses with you, and through Bakero and the likes, they've had a great journey. So are you always open to people contacting you or sending horses your way?
Oh, most definitely. it's great when the phone rings and someone wants to send you a horse. Like, it doesn't happen all the time, but yeah, definitely open to that.
Oh, well done. I know you're a busy lady, so we'll let you get back to it, but fingers crossed heading into the Derby, and I'm sure, you're going to be hitting that target of best season yet. Well done.
Thanks very much, Jeff.
And it's now time to check out what's making headlines on social media, harness racing wise. Starting off with New Zealand, Corbin Newman records his first driving win. Well done, Corbin. And Amber Lethaby, of course, picks up her 100th driving win in New Zealand. Ali Barron was named as the first ever recipient of the Flair South Island Contribution to Team Teal Award. Well done, Ali. And you can find out more about that by checking out the HRNZ Facebook page. From Australia, expat Kiwi McLovin looks as though he'll return soon for a Kiwi assault. After 5 wins from just 6 Aussie starts, a potential tilt at the Rowe Cup and Anzac will be decided by new trainer Andy Gath in the coming days. For more Aussie news, make sure you follow Adam Hamilton. And from the USA and Canada, the Kiwi breds featured in the Yonkers features over the weekends. In the Matchmaker Series, Sha Tin, after winning her first round of heats, had a hard luck trip from post 8 and finished 4th in her heat this weekend. But Kiwi bred Better Joy was successful in her race, beating home fellow Kiwi Gold Orchid. Well, of course, with the success of the recent yearling sales, Southern bred, Southern reared yet again. The cream rose to the top, and co-top lot preparers and vendors, Dave and Dawn Kennedy. Dave is joining me on the show. Congratulations, Dave. Has it sunk in as yet for you?
It has sunk in, Jess. No, it was unbelievable, really. It was a total surprise, and I was absolutely elated.
And when you say you're surprised, do you get any kind of inkling with how many times the horses have walked out, or maybe some comments as to how much interest or the potential of that type of figure going forward?
Well, you get an idea, Jess. We had a lot of buyers, and a lot of the buyers you'd want to come through your door looking at them. But I got a little bit concerned later in the day when I knew I had an inkling that Emilio was going to be interested, and Lincoln Farms weren't interested, but Jean Peace and Nigel McGrath and Stonewall had looked at him. But when Jean bought a few lots earlier for 100,000, I think she bought about 3. I thought, well, to get big money, you really need the 3, Jean, Emilio and Lincoln Farms, to hit big heights. And I thought, well, we might be in a bit of trouble, to be fair. Well, he sort of stopped at 40,000, and I thought, God, he's not going to hit his reserve, which I had 50 on him. And then he shot up to 90, and I thought it was sort of stalling here, and then it took off, and I couldn't believe it, really. I thought, oh my God, I never thought to have a sale shopper. I knew he was a nice colt, but such a lovely individual, beautiful nature, and very intelligent. But I never thought, he would have been. I kept telling Debbie Smith, I thought she would have the sale shopper that day.
Well,
It was unbelievable, really.
And very fitting too, Dave, that you mentioned that Debbie and Mark Smith, of course, they had 170,000 for the Shard as well. So I know that the team down there was Southern bred, Southern reared. You're a tight-knit unit, you're a family, and you like to celebrate at the end of the sales all together. So that must have been probably one of the most buoyant nights that you guys have had together for a while.
Oh, yeah, the SBSR team had a very big night. Well, we had John and Katrina Price and Father Dan and Arden Lodge.
Yeah.
And Michelle Kay got very good money for a trotter too, second top price or third top price, I think it was. So, the SBSR team were certainly out to celebrate.
And on the Southern Bred, Southern Rare brand, you've done a lot over the years to get that recognised?
Yeah, no, we've done a lot of work, and I think it's paying dividends. There's quite a few people we can thank for that. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that have done a lot of work.
Yeah. So, Dave, what kind of feeling do you get seeing your own horses doing well?
Oh, well, it's very satisfying to see the horses you sell, because I am a seller. Go and do a job for other people, and you just hope the horse can pay back the faith that they've had in them when they front up and spend the money to purchase the yearlings. So, it gives you great pride.
Yeah, Exactly. And in terms of after the sales, I know for you and Dawn, the process of getting horses ready, parading them, doing the marketing, when you get home after the sales, what next for you? Do you just take a moment to get over it?
Well, we had sort of just a break at home. We didn't do a lot, but we're back working with the young ones now, just teaching them to lead and tie up on their mothers and working with next year's crop. That's what we're doing now.
Exactly. Of course, in terms of highlights overall, it would be remiss of me not to mention the Mighty Quinn. Are you always each season hoping that the next Quinny's coming along?
Well, that's the ultimate, isn't it? To get something like Quinny to fly the flag for your breeding efforts, and I'd dearly love to breed another Quinny, but having bred one, I think it'll be pretty near impossible to do again. But we're always that's our goal is to breed top horses.
In terms of goals, as you mentioned, you've already had Quinny, but is there a particular race, Dave, that you and Dawn have really hung your hat on and said one day I'd just love to win that as a breeder?
Yeah, well, I think the Holy Grail's the New Zealand Cup for me.
Yep.
I would love to win that, and the other race I'd dearly love to win is the 3-year-old fillies race, New Zealand Oaks. And I'd like to own that one myself.
Well, I'm sure you're going to have plenty of opportunities, of course, with the Bodine name. You've had not only top colts, but top mares and fillies as well.
Exactly, yeah, no, we've had a lot of luck with fillies and also colts, so it's quite humbling to think that our breed has gone out there and done it for the trainers and owners that have purchased our horses.
We always like to highlight milestones here on the podcast, and one particular milestone that was hit over the weekend that was very special was 100 New Zealand driving wins for Amber Lethaby. Amber, congratulations. Had you been focusing on that milestone?
Not really. At one point I probably thought it was never going to happen. Things had slowed down a fair bit in the last 5 years, but when you sort of get up to 95, then it was probably not too far away from happening. Then I started to think about it then.
And quite unique in the fact that it came in a standing start mile race.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Not too many of them around, and on the home track too, down in Winton, and I hadn't probably driven there for about 10 years, I reckon, so it was quite cool that it all panned out that way.
Is it quite nice to be able to take a team back to the old stomping ground?
Yeah, definitely. Look, we've been trying for ages to get a team down, and it's quite a long way, so you always sort of want to take as many as you can, and it just never worked out. We're always open to heading back down there. So we've probably for the last 3 months have been looking at trying to get a team there, and it just worked out that it was that weekend. So
yeah. And you must be absolutely thrilled with the way the training partnership's going with your husband Jason. 6 winners in the first season of training.
Yeah, no, they're all taking along nice. We've picked a few new owners up, and they're all taking along good. We don't have any champions in the team, but sort of if they get the right sort of runs that suit them, then they're generally not too far away. But we do need those right runs. Probably most people are in their same boat, But we just keep ticking away nicely and keep getting some new ones coming through to replace the ones that leave. And I think that's the key to it all.
And, of course, recently your father, Ray, you've taken over his side of the training here in New Zealand, Amber, and as you mentioned, you're picking up new owners. And are you open to people contacting you and Jason and giving your team a try?
Yeah, no, definitely. Always open for that, always open for new people to come in, just trying to get a few horses suitable for syndicates as well, up and going race horses as well, and they're quite hard to find, but when we do, we're always open to get new owners in there.
Fantastic. And of course recently, the last couple of years, I recall you almost gave driving away. Are you glad that you stuck with it, Amber?
Yeah, I am, yeah. Everything sort of quieting down quite a bit there for me, and I probably wasn't out there as often as what I needed to be. Sometimes you sort of felt like you're probably better off putting someone that's out there a bit more often and sort of keep their bloody hand in the pot a wee bit, so to say. It was more just that I wasn't getting out there enough, but now we've built the team back up again and we're getting plenty of racehorse around us, and I'm out there a wee bit more often. But there's always someone that can do it better, but then you've got horses that are better off with people driving them that know their wee quirks and things too, so it works both ways.
Oh, exactly. And 100 driving wins, it's a massive success, and not many women in New Zealand get to do that. So you can be extremely proud of those efforts. And I know you're busy in the truck now with horses, so we'll let you get going. But congratulations again.
Thank you very much, Jess.
Well, as part of the Harness Half Hour, we like to profile various people across the industry, and one person that you probably feel like you know a bit about, because you see him all of the time, is Marc Cookson of Trackside. Marc, thank you very much for your time today, and can you tell us a bit about what your role with Trackside actually does entail?
Well, thank you, Jess. Nice to be here. I've been with Trackside for about coming up 8 years now. This is my 8th year at Trackside. I started in about 2011. I think the process would have started about maybe 5 or 6 months before that with the audition process.
Okay, and before you stepped into the Trackside world, where were you based and what were you doing in terms of career, Marc?
I was working in radio at the time. I had got a job. I was the breakfast radio host in Oamaru, the Port FM radio station there, which is now More FM. I'd been the breakfast radio host there since about the beginning of 2010. So I'd been at radio school in Christchurch, where I grew up, for a couple of years prior to that, and working in radio on and off, and then I got a full-time job in Oamaru after that, and worked there for about a year and a half, I suppose, until the opportunity came up, the casting call at Trackside.
And in terms of the casting call, you and I both know about the process that goes on in terms of being employed as a presenter. It's not an easy task, is it? There's a lot of preparation and a lot of training involved before you even get in front of a camera. Well,
I'd always wanted to be a Trackside presenter. It was always something that I thought that I could do. It was the one thing in television that I thought I could do. I didn't want to be an actor. I didn't want to do news or anything like that. I had always wanted to do radio, but in terms of television, I always thought that was a job that I could do that. And I'd put it off for so long. When I was a teenager, I'd kind of been steered in other directions and things like that, and had ended up in radio. And one day, a workmate of my mother's, who owned a few good horses in the time, notably born in the States, I think, had won Kamara Gold Nuggets and had competed in some big races back in the early 2010s. She had seen the ad that Trackside had put out that was a general call for auditionees at the time, and badgered my mother, said, "Oh, your son would be very good at that." So I got clued in on it. So I said, "Okay, well, I'll go and throw in an audition tape and see how we go." And I went to the local TV station in Oamaru, a place called 45 South. And I took an ill-fitting suit and an image I printed off of the TAB logo, and they had a green screen there at the TV station, and we propped it up on the green screen behind me, and I sat there in my suit and just basically rattled off a bunch of jargon that I'd heard all the Trackside presenters that were already on had done, and we packaged it up and sent it away.
Nowadays, Marc, you're based in Christchurch, and can you tell us a bit about your day-to-day role, or what your role is with Trackside in terms of presenting?
Well, I've been at the Wellington office, as you know, with yourself for several years, until Trackside moved their broadcasting operations to Auckland, and I decided at the time that I would go when they offered everybody the chance to either go or not from Wellington to Auckland. I thought being single and unmarried, and I could take that opportunity and move to Auckland. So I'd been there for about 4 years, and again, as always is the case at Trackside, it goes through changes every now and again, and through various departures, an opportunity came up in Christchurch, which is where I was born and grew up, and I kind of had come to kind of the end of what I could really do in Auckland at the time in terms of getting some more opportunities, and the opportunity presented itself in Christchurch, which has a lot more chances to get out on track and do on-track presenting, which is something that I hadn't got too much of a chance to do in Auckland, just filling in for Craig Thompson and filling in for Brendan Popplewell every now and again, but that wasn't quite enough. So when the opportunity came to come down to Christchurch and do some presenting in Christchurch and around the South Island, I really jumped at the chance, and it's paid off so far.
You're cross-coding between thoroughbreds and harness. Do you find it quite difficult to keep up with both codes, given that at any moment you could be at either code on course?
It was really hard when I was filling in Auckland, because you never knew what you were going to do, and you were always coming in cold, and that was the problem for me, I think, because I don't have a horsey background, so to speak. I didn't have direct involvement with horses coming through. I have uncles who train horses and own horses, both thoroughbreds and harness. My cousin, Matthew White's a former champion junior driver. He'll be back in the country soon. And I had that trouble, I suppose, in terms of not having as much of an industry connection. So when I was just filling in and only on course every now and again, it was hard to build up the relationship with people in terms of getting interviews and building that rapport. But now that I'm on course a little more regularly, it's getting a lot easier, and I'm finding that I'm accepted by the people in the industry that I have to interview, and it gets easier and easier every time you do it. So in terms of thoroughbreds versus harness, it is kind of difficult to try and snap in between the two, but luckily my background in broadcasting and the way I've been kind of skip between the codes over the years, I've managed to build up a broad knowledge, which has really helped.
Absolutely, and that cannot be understated, the amount of work that goes into preparing for going on course and putting yourself on live TV and putting yourself out there. It takes a lot of work. And in terms of highlights, Mark, in your career with trackside or racing-wise, is there a moment or a race that you were present for that stands out in your memory as, you know, you were glad you were a part of it?
I did get to do 2 New Zealand Cups so far in terms of being part of the broadcast team. I have done once for radio and once for television. I don't like to remember the television one too much. It was one of Adore Me's New Zealand Cup wins. I don't think I was ready in terms of joining the TV team, because I'd never really done any on-course TV stuff before. So I think I was a bit premature in that respect. But I was part of the radio coverage for the third of Terrica Love's New Zealand Cups, and that was for radio. That was a really fun day. Some of the interviews that managed to get, and being there for the emotion of all of the connections that day. Ricky May, Terry McDonald, the courts. Managed to interview the Minister of Racing live that day. It was a really surreal day, and it was great to be there and capture the great moments that do take place on New Zealand Cup Day. And it was extra special for me too, because I hadn't done too many on-track appearances broadcasting wise. So yeah, it was great to make my debut there and capture those moments.
Not a bad place to make your debut at all, Mark. And in terms of going forward, obviously the role of broadcasting and trackside is ever evolving and ever changing. Do you have any goals in terms of your career in the racing broadcasting area? Like, do you have anything that you'd really like to tick off that bucket list?
I feel like I've done so much across working at trackside. Over the first few years, I wasn't really keen on doing the on-track presenting, because I'd been a studio presenter there, and when I was growing up wanting to be a trackside presenter, that was kind of my goal, and I kind of thought I'd achieved that, and wasn't really that interested in being on track. But as you know, Jess, once you actually get out there and you are out there on track, you get a taste for it, and you really love it, and you want to do it more and more. And it's great, my role now, that I get to do a lot more on-track stuff around the South Island. So hoping that I'll be able to maybe make a New Zealand Cup once again, in coming years. Now that I'm building up my experience and be part of the team there, I'll be much more ready for it now. Harness duels as well, which hopefully in a couple of years I'll be able to do that. Maybe this year, who knows? It's such an uncertain time, I suppose, with what's going on with the Masara report and where trackside will be in as part of that. So it's hard to make those plans going forward. But I'm hoping that whatever does come through and whatever does come out of that I'll still be able to be a part of it.
Certainly. Well, Mark, it's been a pleasure to chat with you, and as I say, I know the amount of work you put in, that level of confidence it has to take to put yourself out there and in front of the audience live, and at times I think people forget how much work and effort and how much it takes out of you to actually put yourself in that position. So keep up the great work. It's great to see you in Christchurch and out on course more often, and I'm sure come Jules Day and Cup Day we're going to see you out there front and centre.
Thank you very much, Jess, and I just want to thank all of the people out there that I do speak to and see on track for being so friendly and accepting me when I'm out there doing interviews and walking around the stables and saying big hellos to me, and always very friendly, so it's great. And also thanks to you, Jess, as well, for being such a great help and inspiration in the trackside office, especially during my early years.
It's my pleasure, Mark. Always nice to chat, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you.
Well, of course, at this stage of the podcast, every week we catch up with Richard Wilson, our harness bookmaker, and he lets us know all the big wins and losses from the week that was. And Richard, starting off firstly with Thursday in Cambridge last week, it was a fairly tough night for punters by the looks of things.
Yeah, it certainly was, Jess. There was only one fixed odds favourite that got home there, and that was Patanjali. Unfortunately for me, really, there wasn't too many big bets there on Thursday night. $1,000 on Patanjali at $2.70 and $1,000 on Starry Star at $1.85 to run the top three. Those are the two best bets of the night. There were a few that did miss. $2,000 bets on Cracker Red at $2.30. There was $1,000 on Van Halen at $2.10, $1,000 on Anna Kate at $1.85, $1,000 on ECAT at $2.90, and two $1,000 bets on Go Toddy at $2.50.
Yeah, and of course fans of Arna Donnelly would have done well that night too there at Cambridge, and Friday night at Addington, of course a 12 race card, so you guys would have been flat out there.
It was a massive night, yeah, and everything was going great guns for us, Jess, early on, but fortunes did change three-quarters of the way through. There wasn't much going right for punters in the first 8 races. Flying even better, heavily backed in the first, was $8,000, two $1,500 bets, both at all at $2.30. There was $2,000 at 2, they all missed. Then there was $5,000 and three $1,000 bets on You Really Got Me in race 2. Then $3,000 and $1,000 bets on Mandolo at $5 in race 3. Then there was $10,000 on Wainui Creek at $2 and $2,000 at $1.85 in race 4. And then we got onto race 5, Winterfell, strongly backed, $1,500 at $1.90, and then two $2,000 bets at $1.75, and five $1,000 bets at $1.65. So Winterfell going down was good for us. And thankfully, there was a $4,200 bet on Majestic Man. That was to run in the top 3 at $1.35, and luckily for me, it wasn't to win. The biggest upset then came Ultimate Sniper. There was a whole stack of multis. I'm not too sure exactly the figure, but it was up around $20,000 worth, and multi-bets there going on to the Sniper at $1.20, three $1,000 bets at that $1.20, and an early gallop paid to him. So we're looking good still. Race 7 then, Ultimate Stride was all to go, $10,000 at $2.10, $2,000 at $1.95. They both missed out. $3,000 on Majestic Chevron at both $4.80 and $4.20, missed in race 8. But $2,000 and a couple of $1,000 bets on Cheerful at $1.85 and $1.80, they got home. So that was sort of the inkling that there was a change in the wind, and then it came Alta Maestro, $10 on opening, Jess, into $4.20. the best bets there: 1,700 at 750, 1,000 at 550, and $2,000 at 480. The biggest bets, but there was a whole heap of other ones. There was also $8,000 to run in the top three at 235. So things took a nosedive there, and then there was $15,000 on 007 at $5 in race 10. A couple of $2,000 bets on King's Landing at 155, 150, and a whole heap of multis. And then race 12, Letterkenny Boy, $5,000 at 145, $2,000 at $1.35, and quite a few multis ended up there too. So everything was going great until the night, and it all turned to custard.
Which is always the way, swings and roundabouts. And of course, retrospectively, or looking at Auckland, it seemed to be very, very quiet.
Yeah, the punters were very much focused on Addington, Jess. There's not much happening at Auckland. The best bet there, $1,000 on Tiger Swift at $6.50. A couple of $1,000 bets got home on Revolver at $2.05 and $2. And a couple of them missed out there, $3,000 on Heavyweight Hero at $2.70, and also $3,000 Better Than Katie at $3.80.
Well, from quiet to the rowdiest part of the country in Southland and Wairio, the mile day there, of course, and interesting to see some standing start races. Were they well received, Richard?
Well, I didn't actually work the Saturday myself. I haven't had a chance to talk to Scotty who did it there, but there was quite a few big bets throughout the day. I'm not too sure exactly which races they fell on, or whether the stands were more liked than the mobiles, or what was happening, but there was a couple of decent goes there that punters really got stuck into. There was $10,000 on Slate at $1.80, and $8,000 on You May Collect at $2. And that horse, very well named, Jess. 2 starts, 2 wins. He's a 5-year-old. He's had a lot of problems, but 152 and a little bit of change there with the time for the mile, about an 8th win. And you're going to hear a lot more about You May Collect, and there will be a lot more collecting going on him. Other good results for punters there: Classy Kids, $1,000 bets at $4.60 and $4.20. And then Ardent Luster, again the last race, proving no good for us. $1,000 bets at $2.50, $2.30, $2,000, and $1,000 bets at $2.10, and quite a few multis anchored on him.
Yeah, you're not wrong about You May Collect, an absolute beast of an animal. Remarkable performance there, as you say, winning by 8 lengths. And of course, we stay in the South Island. Sunday we had Waimate on the grass.
A few bets did a lot of damage there, and it was sort of similar to Addington too. There's a bit of a change halfway through the program. $500 on Clifton Flowers at 14. That was bad enough, but then just before the start, there was $1,000 on Clifton Flowers at 11. So race 10 clearly the worst race for us. But not far behind that was the last race, where got touched up a bit on Stun Gun, $1,000 bet at $5. Actually, $3,000 bets at $5, all in the last couple of minutes. So punters got us there on Stun Gun. There was $1,000 on Need and Rain at $6.50, and top 3 bets: $1,000 at $2.40, $1,200 at $2.15, and a $3,000 bet at $2.10. So very heavily fancied for a place, but she got home. So that was the other terrible result for us. There was a few early misses though: $3,000, $2,000, and $1,000 bets, all on Lone Star Lad at $2.40. There was $1,000 Justin Orr at $4.60, $1,000 Desert Wings at $3.30, and $1,000 on Airpark Flyer at $2.70.
Okay, and to grass track racing on Monday at Wingatui, of all places, dual code racing there.
Yeah, a little bit wet there at Wingatui yesterday. That's usually good for us. A couple of bets that got home for the punters though: $1,000 Majestic Connies at $3.50, and $1,000 to them on Ultimate Session at $3.30 and $3.20. There's ones that missed there: $2,000 Jack's Ann at $5.50, $2,000 on This Lady Rocks at $3.30. There was $3,000 Two Herbs 2 at $7.50. $2,000 bets on Tartan Trilogy at $2.90, and then a $3,000 bet at $3.40. There was $3,000 at $3.40, $2,000 at $2.80, and $1,500 at $2.70, all on One Direction later on in the day in the last there. So that race there, the last race, probably the best last race we've had for quite some time.
And probably making you want to go out and buy One Direction's album, I'm sure, Richard, after that result. And the last couple of weeks you've kindly been highlighting multis and cash outs of the weeks, but what multi have you found for us to highlight this time round?
Yeah, nice little multi, quite a short one here, $20 on Friday night. Majestic Ali at 41, on to St. Michelle at 10.50, just around the top three. So that $20 turned into $8,610.
Very nice work. Only 2 horses to hold the breath for. And cash out of the week, $1,000 multi you're going to highlight for us. Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's the best cash out or the worst cash out of the week. There was how many legs? There were 6, I think. Sheffield Sparky to run the top 3 at 148. Max Shard top 3, 125. King's Landing at 155. Lethaby Boy 145. The Melbourne Storm head-to-head to beat the Raiders at 172. And the last leg was the Brisbane Broncos to beat the North Queensland Cowboys at 160. That would have returned 11,442, but it was cashed out, I think, just after half-time in the Broncos game for 8,928. So still a very good profit, but perhaps missing out on a couple of thousand there.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be losing sleep over that too. And in terms of the week ahead, it seems busy enough still for you and the team.
Yes, indeed. The Manawatu on Wednesday, so an early start to the week sort of for us. Of course, we've already had Ringatui on Monday, Forbury Park on Thursday, Addington with the 4 and 5 year old Superstars champs, and the second day of Manawatu on Friday, Invercargill on Saturday, and Meston on Sunday.
And the scariest part about it all, Richard, is I think we're only about 9 weeks away from the Jewel, so I'd imagine you're starting to have nightmares about those markets.
Yeah, I can't believe you've mentioned that yet. We'll be getting around to those very shortly. Just at the moment, we have got 5 futures books open. The New Zealand Derby, bit of a change there after racing on Friday. Ultimate Sniper, 155, I think it was. Now 185 after that gallop. A bit of concern around what made him gallop. How is he going forward? So he's drifted quite a bit there, and quite a few others. Jesse Jukes into 390. Lethaby Boy, very impressive, into 8. And Chiller Bay was getting home very well, is next in line at 21.
Okay, tab.co.nz, check out those future markets. We weren't putting pressure on for the Jewels, don't worry. I know you've got enough to worry about at the moment. Richard, thank you so much, and we'll let you get back to fixing those odds for the Greyhounds.
Yes, Addington Greyhounds this afternoon. Looking forward to that.
And what's coming up for the racing action this week? We start off with Wednesday, and it's day 1 of the Gold Cup Festival for Manawatu on Wednesday. Thursday night, Forbury Park down in Dunedin. Friday night, we've got the second night of the Manawatu meeting, which is the Gold Cup Festival race night. And Addington, of course, is going head-to-head with that meeting. That includes the Superstars Championship. Saturday, we'll see Invercargill in the Deep South, and Sunday, Methven will be back on the grass at Mount Harding, including the Mount Hutt Country Cup. And that is it for this week's Harness Half Hour. Thanks to HRNZ Marketing. Don't forget the Dream Team competition is now open. You can find out full terms, conditions and entry information by visiting hrnz.co.nz and finding it on the newsreel. And don't forget the Harness Half Hour podcast is now available on the Punters Lounge, which is on tab.co.nz, also on Spotify and iTunes.